Hey everyone, Enie's 20. And this is it, man. Made it to the end of the year where I'm recording this on the 29th. So 2024 is about to be bye-bye very, very soon. And so, of course, I need to finish the last of the media threads for December because I'm not gonna... There's nothing I can finish within the next 2 days unless I bum rush one of my Christmas gifts, and I don't want to, so we can call it now. This is a good spot to end. I wanted to do it before 2025, so let's get into it. Right off the bat, 2024, I will say this, or December, I mean, I watched all the 4 main seasons of Bang Dream again, because in January, the next one comes out. So it's something that I've wanted to do since I finished watching them the first time, and it took me 10 months to rewatch season 1. I know I already have the Bandori Time series where I go super in-depth into it after my rewatches, so I'm gonna keep it short for this. Season 1 was incredible. It was so good. I was just shocked at how much better it was there. Not that I thought it was bad when I first watched it. I enjoyed it on another level. Like, it is up there. It is fantastic. A fantastic start to the season. So, to the series. So that's all I have to say for that. It's amazing. That was on December 5th that I finished watching it. Fantastic. I don't have anything. I'll just keep praising it, so we'll just move on to the next thing. Here we go. So, as I'm recording this, I actually I haven't uploaded... Did I upload it? No, I did. I should, but I haven't made public, like at this second. I'm gonna after I finish recording this. My deep dive into this book, and I call it a deep dive, but just me talking about it for 30 minutes. This is the equivalent of what I do with Bang Dream, but I'm gonna do with all of Terry Brooks's books, starting with this one. So, granted, I think that video is really all over the place and unclear, so that's fine though. I think I would rather do that than have to re-record it, and just try to fall into like a script. But on December 7th, I finished the first book of the Sword of Shannara trilogy, The Sword of Shannara, and yeah, I'm so glad to be back to reading these, and I think I found a way to... I mentioned this in the video, but I'll hit it up here just real quick. I don't have the solid hours I would like to have to be able to actually read. I did read a few chapters of this, but the majority of the story I listened to it through audiobook on Spotify, because it was there for free. And I enjoyed it very much. That helped, and I've been using that for the next 2 books that I've been reading too. Just like when I'm not here and I'm not sitting where I can actually hold the book and read it, the audiobook helps. But yes, it was a really great start to the Shannara series. It was a really good intro, and it took me back. It's like reading it was almost like time traveling. Like unironically, just all the things that I learned about it. Just rereading it, and how much of it I remembered, and how much of it affected so much of my other personal, like, original stories and stuff that I've written and told, the comics I've drawn, all the stuff that I've done over the years. Just a lot of it can be traced right back to the Shannara series, which is surprising to me. It's been so long, I forgot how much of it was that influential. But yes, good book. Very good book. Very good start. I think the only thing I definitely didn't hit this up in the video because of course I didn't. The only thing about it I will say is, and this isn't even a problem unique to this, it's something I see everywhere, it's just not enough falling action. I feel like a lot of stories love to skip falling action. They have their whole grand adventure, everything wraps up, the villain is dead, the world is saved, and everyone's happy, and then like 3 paragraphs later the book ends. Like, not really, but you know what I mean. Like, none of the main characters talk to each other in the final chapter of the book. They have a conversation. They're standing next to each other, but all the book describes about it is like they're saying goodbye and stuff like that. And they go home. And then the last chapter only has Shay, Flick, and their dad in it, vaguely talking about the adventure that happened. Vaguely. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I think the second book, which I'll get to, was better about it, but it's just a problem with stories at large. This is not unique to this. There's every anime ever. Not really. Some other anime that I watched back in the day, some other manga that I read, have the same problem where they want to rush too quickly to the end. And it's just like, it's unfortunate. Like, a good recent example, another example to highlight this, is the My Hero manga ended. And I didn't read it. I read it by just being on Twitter. Because a lot of people, it just showed up. It was just in my recommended list, so I might as well have been reading it. And the thing about it is that they were in their final conflict for like over a year, I think. Maybe even 2, I don't know. And it finally wraps up, and then there's like 5 chapters that release over the course of a month, and then the story's done. It's over. Book's closed. We're good. We're done. I'm like, that's it? Like, they were all fighting for their lives. We watched them fight for their lives, or read them. By we, I mean the fans, for the last 2 years, and you just end like that? You know, falling action is important. I think it's nice to have it. So that's something I want to say. Good book. I know I got a little off track, but I always do. December 9th was second season. Once again, I have a video going all deep into it. This one also, much like the first season, this one revved up with the rewatch. It's just even better on second viewing. Absolutely fantastic. Devastating in the best way. Really loved it. I don't know what else to say that I didn't say it already in the video. So we'll move on to the next thing. Oh, the next thing is season 3. December 16th. That was what, December 9th? Yeah, and then here December 16th. The only reason these things aren't back to back, which they are, but I mean, they could have been like, oh, I finished this on December 5th, I finished this on December 7th. It takes me 2, maybe 3 days to watch a whole season. Just because I get into it and I can't stop. The only reason they're so spread out is because I didn't want to watch the next season before I recorded the video about the previous season. And I can only really record videos comfortably on my days off from work, so it kind of like wound up separating all this stuff a lot farther out than I would have liked to. But still, third season was really good. Unlike the first and the second season, which became even better after the rewatch. Season 3, after I finished it, I was at the same level as it was when I first finished it, which is, I loved it. So it's like, it's not like I ever hated it and I still hate it. No, I don't hate any of it. It's just like, it didn't have the really big moment that's like the big key defining moments and parts that season 1, 2, or MyGO have, but it was an enjoyable watch. It's a nice way to kind of like cap the stories for all the characters before it then ventures off into multimedia madness across all the other forms. Still a really good season. Last performance is fantastic. It's enjoyable. Here's something new I can talk about. On December 18th, I think it was the day before, 17th or maybe the 16th, that Van Ripper, the creator of Helltaker, made a new game called Awaria. I think it was. But basically I played, I want to say like the day after it was announced. I'm like, wait, he made a new game? And I finished it like the day after. Because it's a short game, just like Helltaker. It's really good though. Like, it's challenging. I think it's even more challenging than Helltaker. Because Helltaker was like a puzzle. It was like puzzle based. So it's more like, you gotta know what you're doing, you gotta know where you're moving and all this stuff. And when it came to the ending, like the final fight against Judgment, I remember that giving me problems. And the exam taker, the little DLC story added was also pretty tough. This got hard. This got really difficult. Dodging and just dealing with the ghost ladies chasing you. But no, I mean, dude wanted to make a game with demon girls in suits because he likes demon girls in suits, and then he made a game with ghost girls because he likes ghost girls. And you know what? Respect the guy for making the stuff that he wants to see. Awesome. Super fun. Just enjoyable. Challenging. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where it only has like 8 achievements, which I think Helltaker also had before the DLC, and then it went up to 10. And the only achievement I'm missing is for beating the game on hard mode. I'm not doing it. No. After those last few levels, I'm like, yeah, I could maybe, but I don't want or need the stress, so we're good. Or like, just, I'm good. Fun game though, really enjoyable. That guy's cool. Yeah, this was in December? Okay, the next chapter of Genshin Impact, Sumeru Archon Quest. I think the reason is, I want to say I actually finished it in November? Maybe? or earlier in December. But then once again, when I finished Act 5, they then threw me like a bunch more stuff to do immediately and not go to Fontaine. So I was like, I want to do more stuff. I want to put the game on pause, and then I ended up doing more stuff anyway, which was the Wanderer quest that finishes off, that continues, what's his name, Scaramouche's story, and then the next Abyss chapter, about the kid. I forgot the kid's name, who and the founder of the Abyss Order and all that stuff. And I didn't want to count the chapter actually done until in game it told me chapter 4, which it finally did after I completed that kid additional Abyss story. Sumeru overall, easily an improvement over Inazuma. I do agree with some people that while the 5 acts made better use of their time versus the 3 of Inazuma, and it gave more time to develop the characters and stuff like that, the issue with it was simply that it did still feel very long at times. But also, to be fair again, I went into it with the intention of only doing the story, and then I wound up exploring and doing side quests and stuff in Sumeru, and I was like, so that made it take a lot more time than it should. So for Fontaine, whenever I get around to that, 100%, I'm going to try to only do the story and ignore everything else, because there's just too much stuff that I don't care about and I don't want to do. It's not to say that it's not fun. Some of the world quests can be interesting. The issue is that they're really long and they take a lot of time, and I just really want to focus on the main story and the story quests, which are the only thing I want to do. So before I even get into Fontaine, I have, I think, 4 more story quests for Sumeru that I need to finish, which is what's her name? I can't believe I forgot. The Archon, Nahida 2, Yoimiya 2, Deshia, and I'm currently doing Sinnoh 2, and I believe that's it. Once I get those 4 all done, I'll be done with story quests up to date until Fontaine, and I start unlocking more. But overall, since I haven't talked about it much, Sumeru was good. I really do like the cast that we had for this area. See them all here with Alhaitham. I don't know how to say his name still. Deya, Nahida, Sinnoh, Candace, Kalei, Tignari. Great characters. I really did like everybody on my side. Once again, though, just like in Inazuma, just like Liyue, the Gnosis is fucking stupid, and it should have been removed from the story completely. I didn't give a shit. Like, it was like the game doesn't give a shit. It gets so hand wavy because they do like a time skip, because Traveler gets knocked out at the end of the story when he's talking to Nahida, and then the fucking doctor comes up or whatever, and then we time skip after that. And the next time you go see Nahida, the only thing he says about it is like, the Gnosis are gone, aren't they? Or like, they're gone, right? And she's like, yeah, I gave them away. They don't care. I hate it so much. It's such a stupid plot point. I know it's like a one tiny thing in the grand scheme of everything else that happens. And the road of discovering what's wrong with the Academy, the Academia? I'm sure there's a better way to say it. The Academy, everything that's wrong with them, with the Grand Sages, the way they're treating Nahida, ignoring her, what they're doing with Scaramouche, the desert people, all that stuff going back and forth, and the Samsara. I remember that was like, whoa, this is intense. Oops. Oh, my internet's disconnected. That's fine. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in Sumeru, the way that it does it, but unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, it's just you know, I guess when you have an overall pretty good experience, it's the small things that really stand out and make you go, I didn't like that part, you know? And overall, that's fine. Like, I can't complain too much about, I mean, I have, but you know, it's just those parts stick out so hard, but everything else is very fun, and the game is enjoyable. I've consistently had fun with Genshin. There's no denying that. So I am excited. Well, not excited, simply because I'm kind of tired of playing Genshin, going through Inazuma and all, most of Inazuma, and then all of Sumeru and everything else in the middle. it's in my best interest to take a break. But I am interested to eventually get to Fontaine, since a lot of people say that's the best part of the game. And the recent stuff with Matland, I think people say is pretty good too. So, you know, cool stuff awaiting in the future. Sumeru was good. Sumeru was a fun time. Alright, I don't know what was up with the internet there. The little Wi-Fi symbol was all full, but everything died. I hate it. I hate it. Anyway, but more importantly, after that, we skip on over to December 23rd. Which, what? Really? Oh, it's until 21st. Okay, I don't think I've been reading out the dates. That's my bad. But on December 23rd, I was gonna say I finished. I mean, that's a weird way to put it. Me and 3 sisters, watched Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and it was great. Like, wow, that was fun. I hadn't seen Sonic 1 and 2 in a while, and I wanted to watch them again, but I just didn't get around to it. But man, Sonic 3 was good. That was just, it was great. Like, I don't know. Clearly a lot of it was taken from, there were a lot of callbacks, nods, references, whatever you want to call it, to Sonic Adventure 2, which seems to be, obviously it's a Shadow story. It's Shadow's intro story, his backstory, and the events around him, and a lot of it obviously has to do with Sonic Adventure 2, since that's when he was introduced. And it's clearly adapted because there are a lot of differences. Obviously the biggest one being that Gerald Robotnik is alive, and the majority of the movie takes place on Earth. You know, and the Space Colony arc doesn't exist, even though we do still end up in space, but it was just really good. It was really, really enjoyable. Like, man, I don't know how else to say it. Just everything about it, and how it just brought to mind so many things that I love about Sonic, and how much I enjoyed Sonic Adventure 2. And seeing Shadow in action was really cool. I love Keanu Reeves, so that's awesome. Everyone did great. Robotnik, of course, Jim Carrey. He's nuts. He did great as Robotnik and Gerald, or as Eggman and Gerald, or as Ivo and Gerald, to be more specific. Yeah, I mean, geez, I don't know what else, like, how to go more into it. I mean, are spoilers still a thing? I don't want to, I mean, it did come out on the 20th, so it's been 9 days only. So I guess I won't really spoil much, but they did great adapting Shadow's story for what happened to him. And I actually thought it was even more interesting when, like, after I finished it, I watched and I saw some people talking about it. How they referenced the fact that in the game, Maria lives on the Space Colony Ark and is thinking about coming down to Earth, whereas in the movie, she and everyone else are on this gun facility on Earth, and she likes to look up at the stars and dream about that, the infinite expanse of space and what it's like, since that's where Shadow came from. And it's like, it's a really interesting, good flip that still keeps like the core of that character in a very interesting way. Shadow himself as well, not being made by Gerald in this continuity, that he arrived in a comet instead, is also very interesting for what it will lead to in the future. They have a lot that they could pull from, admittedly. Even if we just keep it to the games, there's a lot of stuff that they could do in the future. Like, whatever they want to do with Shadow in the future, the fact that he arrived in the comet, it's like, I don't know, I wouldn't mind seeing like someone take on Black Doom. That would make for a very serious story though, because Black Doom is or any of the other villains. There's so many other villains or just characters in general that if they wanted to use for a future story, they could. And based off the ones that they kind of seem to be going for following Sonic 3, who knows? Yeah, it was really enjoyable. Like, the time they had to fight Shadow was really cool, whether it was in Tokyo or at the end of the movie. Just, man, I had a lot of fun, you know. Like, for Sonic fans, as a Sonic fan, yeah, good time. Big recommend. I should watch the full trilogy again, just for the hell of it, because it was good. Here we go. And the next was on... This is also 23rd? Yeah, it was also the 23rd when I came... Really? I guess so. I don't know. But yes, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So technically, I finished the game on the 10th. Wait, let me go back up. Yeah, the 10th was when I finished the game initially. As in, I did all the story stuff because they have like the story branches for all the different characters and like the sagas, Goku, Piccolo, Vegeta, Gohan. They have like their own story stuff, and every time you beat an ending, you get everyone has multiple endings. So yeah, on December 10th, I technically finished all the stories, but I decided after reading the achievement list, I could 100% this, and I did on December 23rd. With the last thing being the 100 online battles, and the hardest part about that was just maintaining connectivity. I dropped so many fights, so it took longer than it probably should have, but I did it. Fun game, super easy to 100%, all things considered. I haven't played a lot of Dragon Ball games, a few, and the one that I spent the most time playing was Budokai Tenkaichi 3 back on Wii, and I really enjoyed that game. Super fun. I remember thinking about getting like the Xenoverse or the Raging Blast games after the fact, but every time I looked into them, or Ultimate Tenkaichi, right, that was one too. Every time I looked into them, like gameplay and stuff, roster, they just never gave me that feeling of Budokai Tenkaichi 4, essentially. Maybe someone who's actually played them will be like, no, they're pretty close, I don't know, but just something about seeing them never really made me want to get them. And so when Sparking Zero was announced as like the return to like the Budokai Tenkaichi stuff, and saw the trailers and finally played it myself, on that first day playing it, I was like, no, yeah, this is exactly what I remember from back on the Wii. It was a little harder to get used to playing it because on the Wii a lot of controls were just to waving and motions, which made it really easy to do stuff, whereas for here everything had buttons, and there's so many things I had to remember while playing it. But man, it was fun. It was just like, ultimately it's just being able to pick whatever character from like a roster of 180 people and fight whatever character. Great. There were some weird things about, there was a few things about the roster that I thought was a little odd, which I know people will talk about this before. I don't think there's like, obviously there's like no Dragon Ball characters, which is a bit weird. There's characters like Cauliflower, who is missing her Super Saiyan 1 form, which I thought was weird. She has base and SS2. Someone mentioned that Kale had an SS2, and unless she did in the anime, it's been so long I don't remember. Vegeta doesn't have his like ascended blue. I don't know what that one's called. Like as a separate form, which I think it should be, because he specifically uses it to defeat Toppo. I think some people say that when Vegeta uses like blue Vegeta has a power that turns him into that. I still think it's weird. And then we have Trunks, Future Trunks, the one from the Goku Black arc, who's missing Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan Rage. Instead, they've all kind of been folded into his one Super Saiyan form, which is weird. Kind of wish they were just separated out, but I mean, ultimately, I don't think it's too much of a big deal. I think it really depends. I really do think Super Saiyan Rage and Vegeta's Super Blue, whatever it was called, I actually don't know what that one's called, should have been in it. But at the same time, it's like when you have 180 selectable things, it's like, meh. It's just, like, I mean, splitting hairs at that point, how I feel about it personally. Bigger issue than the roster, in my opinion, would actually be the stage selection. When I went back and I looked at the Budokai Tenkaichi 3 stage list because I was curious, I was surprised at how much of that isn't in this one that I think should be. Like Kami's Lookout, come on. So no weird stuff, I know. So it seems like there's some weird stuff in the background in terms of how they wanted to put into the game, but at its core, it's just super fun to play. Really enjoyable. And I will say the way that they chose to tell the story in this game was a really weird way to tell. But I mean, as I mentioned here, they've told the story of Dragon Ball Z 50 million times at this point, so it's like they do it different every time. But yeah, I mean, it's still enjoyable. Still an enjoyable game. A lot of challenging fights in the story mode now that I think about it. Some of those alternate scenarios are really hard to get to. As a Dragon Ball fan, it was just fantastic. It was super Dragon Ball fun times. I enjoyed all my time with it. And even after I 100%ed it, once I was done playing online, I could go do whatever I want. I was gonna like stop playing the game and do something else, and instead I just went into versus mode, picked 5 random characters for me, 5 random characters for the CPU, and just played a bunch of versus matches for like an hour or two after that, just because it's fun. So Sparking Zero is great. Really good. Really interested to get all the DLC or see what the DLC is gonna wind up being. If there's anything in there that I super want, curious about it. We'll definitely keep like popping into it every so often just to play because it's a good time. And then December 25th on Christmas, I finished reading the Elfstones of Shannara, the second of the Sword trilogy. And I haven't recorded an in-depth thing on this one like I did for the first book, but I will. What I will say is I remember this book very vividly because of the ending. Actually, let me correct that. I remember the ending of this book very vividly, not the whole book. I know like certain beats I think I remembered, but actually going through the book, I was kind of surprised because Sword launches into its adventure like immediately. Like the characters leave their home and go to where they need to go, Cullhaven, I believe, to start the adventure for the Sword. And here, it's almost like there's two quests. It's like the first one is getting everybody together. So the main characters in this one being Will Olmsford and Amberly Elissadil. It's like getting them from where they are to Arbalon, the Elven capital. That's step one, and that takes like 20 chapters or something. And then after that is they go off on their quest to find the Bloodfire, and everybody else prepares to go to war with demons. And then we have our A and B plots. And then that's for the rest of the book. So it's so funny. Like, it's so interesting. I just love the idea that the story is ultimately A plot. Let's go. I said this somewhere before, I can't remember. Let's go find fertilizer for a magic seed. And B plot, demon war. So it's just like, oh man, it's good. It was good though. Like the action scenes, all the war scenes, when that kicks off, and everything having to do with Ander, Elissadil, Alanon, Steejans, shit's great. Like all the fighting that takes place before they even. Well, I mean, how do I put it? Just because there is a constant losing battle. They have to retreat constantly, but all the fights when they stand and try to delay the demon hordes are great. All the stuff with Will and Amberly is really good. It's just distinctly, like, I really enjoyed the first book. Thinking about it now after finishing this one, it's even better than the first book. It's a really good story, and I actually do like that it has more falling action for it. I wish there was like one more conversation at the end of the book, just because. But I do like the way that it ended much better, and I feel like there was more thought, or not thought, just more time given to it to allow itself to actually come to a conclusion. And so I was very appreciative of that. A good book. I'll go more in depth into it in some video in the future, but man, good times, very good times. Also, it gave me that same thing, kind of like how the first book when Balinor first appeared, and I read his name, I was like, I remember you. It was the same with Steejans when he first popped up. I was like, oh, wait, I know this. I like this character. And then the same in the third book when Garrett Jax was introduced, the weapons master. And I was like, I like this guy. So, you know, it's so funny. It takes me back so hard, and I love it. It's such a good feeling to have. And now that brings us to the last day on this whole list. Today. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, yeah. December 29th, yeah, because I finished this, like, I think I finished the last episode of MyGO at, like, 11:57, 58. So by the time I wrote up anything about it and posted it on the media threads, it already turned over to the next day. Whatever. So December 29th, I finished watching Bang Dream It's MyGO again, and yeah. I need to record the in-depth, or not, well, just the talk about it. This season was more like season 3, where going into it, I was already expecting it to be great, and then paying more attention to the details of what everybody says to each other and how they say it to each other. Came out to being like, yeah, no, it's every bit as incredible as I thought it was the first time. You know, just like, yeah, this is every bit as good. Just the characterization. There's even scenes I forgot about that surprised me. And one scene I swear I don't think I ever saw. It's funny to bring it up again. It's like a My Hero problem where sometimes at the very end of the episode, I don't remember if it's before or after the next time on, they have like a little like 5 minute, like 5 second like stinger or something like that. There was one of those. I think this season actually has 3 of those. But the first one, I genuinely didn't even know that scene was there, and it said a lot in like 10 seconds. So I was like, "Oh, interesting." Yeah, I mean, I already talked about it a ton when I first watched it. I'm gonna talk about it a ton more later. So for now, I'll just say it's peak fiction, and I love it wholeheartedly, and I cannot wait. We're a few days out from the start of Ave Mujica, and I'm stoked. And that brings us to the actual last thing on the list, which isn't something I finished, but are things that I played. So there were more. I'm sure there are more. There's other games that I played this year that I didn't finish because you can't really finish them, so to say. But I've lost track of what they were. For example, Cookie Clicker. Like, I don't know when I started playing that, but I've played it for years, and it's not anywhere on this list because it's not really something you can finish. But I did boot it up a few times, a lot of times, in the first half of this year. And there's other examples that I could probably give. I think I played DNF Duel again, but it's not really something that you can go into. Or Returning to Skyrim, which I didn't finish. All sorts of things like that. But these, I think, are in their own specific category. And they're easier to keep track of because I know 100% that these are all the gacha games I played this year for the first time. For different reasons. But out of all of them, the one that I played the most of was Bang Dream Girls Band Party, and I absolutely loved it. Like, because I love Bang Dream. And it's a rhythm game with really great Bang Dream music, originals, covers, everything. The 9 yards. Super fun. I'm diving into more of the character stories and the band stories and the main story and stuff. And I'm just enjoying it. It's a good time. I really enjoy it. And then we've got... Technically, this is the second one. Snowbreak Containment Zone, which I picked up some months back on Steam. And I finished... I played it. My goal for gachas now, the rule for any of a pickup to try is an event. So if an event's currently going when I jump into the game, I'll play until that event's over, and then I'll keep playing for a full event period, which is usually I think like a month, just to get me in the vibe of it. Snowbreak lasted, I want to say, 2 events. When I was playing it, I was already in the middle of one, and I think after that I played fully for the next 2 events, and then the 3rd event after, it was around there that I stopped playing. I enjoyed it. It's actually a shooter. Third-person shooter, and I had fun playing it. I enjoyed it. Couldn't follow the story to save my life, but I enjoyed it. There were a lot of characters. At least there were a few characters I really wanted to get. One of the last ones was Wednesday. Her, I think that's like her code name. I forgot her actual name. But she had a brand new form that was added in recently, I guess. Electric, like, fused form with her god. It's a long story. And I got it, so I was at least happy to have that one. Very fun. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'll ever go back to it, just because, you know, going back to a gacha is like a big time sink, but it was enjoyable. Currently, I'm still going in Starseed. Starseed, out of any gacha I've ever played, is the most loot friendly. I don't know what the word is. They give you a lot of shit. Like, you get a lot of stuff to let you pull a lot. Like, you know, there's so many games, like let's take Zenless, for example, that they're advertising right now that if you join, you can get like 100 pulls. Yeah, and I'm like, no, you can't. I joined Genshin or other ones at the time where they claim that, and at most I'm able to do like 1 or 2 10 pulls. It's like they don't give you like 100 materials to use for that right off the bat. It's like, yeah, you can get it if you devote a lot of time to it. And I'm just like, I'm not really into that. But this game is way generous with everything that it gives you and stuff. Currently, there is a big event going on where you can get all the SSRs in the game just by logging on over the course of 33 days. At the end of those 33 days, I think is when I'll put the game down, which we're almost there. I enjoyed it. It's nice. It doesn't really have a gameplay element, though. It's like it's an auto battler. I don't know what to call it. Your characters are on like a little plane, and you don't really command them. You can tell them when to use their ultimates, but that's about it. So like not having the super interactive element really kind of detracts from how fun it can be. But it's nice. It's not bad. I mean, it's not my thing, but I want to at least stick out to the end of the event period, and I'll be good. And then most recently, I think it was right after the Game Awards, I picked up Wuthering Waves because they apparently have a big update on the way, and I was really curious as to what this game would be like because I remember hearing about it when it first launched. A lot of people comparing it to Genshin and everything. And going into it, I can definitely see that. Obviously, all gachas have the same flow, or at least open world adventure gachas with their quest lists, their battle passes, and all that stuff looks the same, just different names for all of them. This one, though, has caught me for gameplay above all else, which from what I understand was what they were shooting for, was for their combat system to be very more complex, I guess. Because Genshin is really fun. The fighting in that game is super simple, you know? Not a bad thing. This one, I feel like there's more going on to it, and something about the aesthetic and the way the characters look, like the character models here versus the ones in Genshin. Like, man, if both games were around at the same time and I had picked this one, yeah, this one would have absorbed even more of my time than it's currently absorbing, and it's absorbing quite a few, I think. There's something about it that I'm more interested, like, I more want to play this one. You know, of course, right now I am burnt out on Genshin, so maybe it's that. But this one's really pulled me in hard, and I'm actually very much enjoying it. So I think at the end of this event period, I think I'll keep playing it for another event period, because I enjoy it that much. And then after that second event period, we'll see how I feel. Although I'm sure by that point I'll probably be burnt out on it. But it's enjoyable. The one thing I need to get is in my head is how to ascension materials, basically, for characters and weapons. I played Genshin so long, like, I know where everything I want is, or at least I know how to find it. For this one, it's all brand new and different, so it's like certain characters can't ascend, and I'm like, why not? Why don't I have the thing? It's like, oh, it's a specific thing. Okay, I need to go find this specific... Yeah. But, and so that brings us to the end of the media thread. What an adventure. Like, what a wild ride this whole year was when it came to all the things that I played and watched and did and everything like that. So yeah, that's the end of it. I don't really have anything cool to say here, or anything like thoughtful or anything like that, but it's a cool idea, and I think more people should do it. At least keep track of everything you don't need to be like date by date, but just, you know, it's interesting stuff just to look back on all the stuff that you've enjoyed. But yeah. This was fun. Excited to see what else I can experience in 2025, and if there's something next year that will carry me or brain rot me as much as Bang Dream has. Anyway, that's it for the media thread and for 2024, apparently. So see y'all next time in 2025. Until then, hasta.